the host of the Ross Tucker Football Podcast and host of the new radio.com show Home and Home at 8 a.m. Monday through Friday. Ross will be part of the Seahawks-Eagles pregame show Sunday for WIP in Philly. Ross, great to have you on. How are you?
Dan, I am fantastic. Thanks for having me as always. I am in New Orleans. I got UCF at Tulane tomorrow for CBS Sports Network. Then I go back to Philly for the Eagles Seahawks. So these are my falls, Dan. It's a tough job. Somebody's got to do it.
I love it, man. Keep you busy. That's the way you advance in this business. I mentioned at the top of the show. What I do know is I don't know anything about this Myles Garrett, Mason Rudolph situation. And nobody's going to back down on either side. And this will lead to speculation. Now we're going to read in and we're going to figure out, well, why something happened or didn't happen, why something was said, not said, who heard it, who said it, did anybody say anything? What do you take away from this?
Well, it's an awful situation, right? Because either it happened and we all agree that that should never happen in any way, shape, or form, or it didn't happen, and this is a false allegation that's about as bad of an allegation as you can make of any human being. So it's an awful situation, no matter how you look at it, Dan. Somebody's lying. And, the issue for me is, I guess, twofold, right? Number one, as it relates to Myles Garrett, I was about as defensive of him as anyone. Because I actually had that happen to me in a practice one time. LeVar Arrington got my helmet off and swung it at me. Thank goodness he missed. But I can see how it happens because I was part of it. And I applauded Myles Garrett for his accountability after the game. I said, look, things happen. You lose your mind. It's not okay. He'll be suspended for the rest of the year, and he should. But I didn't think it was as awful as everybody else did. I could see how that would happen. And I applauded his accountability. How can I do that now, Dan? How can I stand up for Garrett's accountability on multiple levels? Number one, I find it really hard to believe that if there was a racial slur, that he wouldn't have mentioned that after the game. You have to think 99.9% of human beings would have said, look, I lost my cool. He said something that was unacceptable. I still shouldn't have lost my cool. But then there's the second part of it, which is that he obviously was throwing it out there at the appeal hearing, but it doesn't really condone his behavior, right? Like, even if that did happen, it's not okay and it's horrible, but that doesn't make it okay that Garrett hit him on the head with the helmet. So it's like, I don't know. I know what he was going for, but even if it happened, it didn't work. It's not like they're going to be like, oh, he did? Okay, then no suspension. You're right. That's fine. He shouldn't have said that. It's still not okay to hit the guy in the head with the helmet, no matter what he said.
Yeah, but I think people are still condoning it if it's based off of that. That maybe that either Rudolph or one of his teammates said something to Myles Garrett. Not that I look at it and say, boy, I'm going to lessen your suspension. I would look at that separately. You still grabbed his helmet and you still hit a guy over the head with his helmet. Rudolph should be punished in this situation. But this speculation makes me nervous because, what's the NFL do? Do you have lie detector test? Like, what's next here to try to figure this out? Because it does feel like, I gave three options. Garrett's lying, Rudolph's lying and said something, Garrett misheard something. Is there anything else that you can throw in there as far as options go?
No, I don't think so. And to your point, number one, I said all week I felt like Mason Rudolph should have been suspended one game. If Ogunjobi was suspended one game for hitting Rudolph in the back, then Rudolph for trying to rip Myles Garrett's helmet off on the field, and then after his helmet was off, and two offensive linemen were, keeping Myles Garrett away, Rudolph went over and escalated the situation again. And I only, by the way, Dan, had one rule when I got in football fights, which is if my helmet came off, I was out. I mean, that was it for me. I was done. Rudolph has evidently not been in very many fights because once your helmet's off, it's over. But I'll take it a step further, Dan. If I'm Rudolph, I take a lie detector test, and maybe both of them. But I almost wonder if this backfires on Myles Garrett. The NFL has come out and said they found no credible evidence. If they don't believe that Mason Rudolph said that, and this is now based on Myles Garrett's Twitter statement, a public accusation of a racial slur, doesn't the indefinite suspension go on longer? Like if they think Myles Garrett's lying, doesn't there have to be some discipline for that?
I think it's dangerous to go down that slope, though. I understand what you're saying, but I'm going to just punish him for his actions. And, Rudolph should be punished as well. We're talking to Ross Tucker, Westwood One NFL analyst and host of NewRadio.com show Home and Home at 8 a.m. Monday through Friday. If I said now that there was no team labeled America's team, and I said, let's just put it out there, who is America's team right now? Who do you think would be America's team?
It's very close between the Patriots and the Cowboys. Now, look, the Packers and Steelers also have incredible fan bases, and I can tell you from playing for 5 teams, anytime the Packers or the Steelers came to town, it felt like there was a lot of fans of the other team. But when I was with the Cowboys, Dan, in 2002, we were 5-11. We were terrible. I would go to the hotel, Dan. There'd be like hundreds of people at the team hotel. Hundreds. And it wasn't like that for the Redskins. It wasn't like that for the Bills. It wasn't like that for the Patriots even when I was there. Hundreds of people. And I remember thinking, like, do they know we stink? Like, do they know we're terrible? It didn't matter. We were the Dallas Cowboys. And I think the Patriots are now there. I can't tell you how many little kids I know. My nephew lives outside of D.C., and for a couple of years when he was like 6 or 7, he was a Redskins fan. You know who his team is? Patriots. Patriots fans and Tom Brady fans are now everywhere. And so I think this is going to break the ratings for a 425 Sunday game because these are by far the 2 most watched teams, and I think the 2 teams that really are competing to be America's team. And right now, I think you might have to lean to the Patriots just in the sense that anything that goes on with them gets even more attention than the Cowboys now. This Antonio Brown stuff,
yeah.
I talked to Christian Fourier this morning. Anything that goes on with the Patriots even gets more national attention than the Cowboys now. So I guess on some level it's the Patriots.
But do you have to like America's team? Like it feels like more people don't like the Patriots. They're polarizing. So I don't know what constitutes, like what makes you America's team, because you make more headlines, more people are interested in what you do, good or bad.
Well, look, I think America's team is just the team that gets the most attention because I'm from outside of Philadelphia, and everybody hates the Cowboys with a passion, hates them.
Well, because of the Eagles.
Part of the mystique of America team. Right, all the Eagles fans hate the Cowboys with a passion. So even though the Cowboys have been labeled America's team for years, Redskins fans hate them, Giants fans hate them. Almost everybody hates the Cowboys other than Cowboys fans. And the Patriots are the only other NFL team that I could think of that have gotten to this point where you're either a Patriots fan or you hate the Patriots. It really feels like it is that way. And maybe they've overcome the Cowboys, but it's like the Yankees in baseball, and it's now the Cowboys and Patriots. And what's weird about that, Dan, is it feels like the Cowboys were always that way. The Yankees were always that way. I'm not sure I can think of another team since I've been around that became that. Like, while I was watching it, they became America's team over the last 18 years.
And I think it's proof that the Cowboys are America's team. If you're 5-11 and people are waiting in line to get your autograph when you played for the Cowboys, I think that's the confirmation the Cowboys are America's team.
That if we ever needed any evidence, people waiting in line at a hotel to get the best left guard to start the last 7 games of the 2002 season in Cowboys history.
You're great. Have a great weekend. Safe travels there, Ross. We appreciate your time as always.
All right. Thank you so much, Dan. See ya.
That's Ross Tucker, Westwood One NFL analyst, former NFL player.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune into Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV. Stream for free on BR Live or download the Dan Patrick Show app.